Oh, hi. Hi. Hello and welcome to new look and aesthetics for the coffee chats. Just wanted to say thank you for all those who have been sticking with me for a little while now, and hope to keep going for as long as possible, as long as people will listen to me talk and all that. So, yeah, here we go for today. So, a little while ago, the Paramount Plus streaming service released a series called Halo. Ooh. I don't know why I did that. Anyway, so originally Halo was going to be a movie way back early 2000s, 2010s, somewhere around there. The project, however, got scrapped, but they already had a lot of footage and money put into it, so it eventually became District 9. If you've never seen that movie and you just want some weird thing to watch, I highly recommend it. I find it enjoyable for as silly as it is. And I think that was about all I had heard about it. It was in production, and then it suddenly got canceled and changed into something completely different. And I never thought anything about it. Here and there, I would see posts about doing a Halo show, but in the format of Band of Brothers, which could have worked. I think would have worked pretty well. And I think, 2 years ago, maybe last year, I'm not 100% sure, heard that they were doing a TV show for it. It's like, oh, okay, cool, I guess. And it wasn't like super thrilled, because at this point, even the Halo franchise, for me, kind of has gotten a little meh. The Halo 5 ending of Halo 5 Guardians kind of hinted that there was going to be a grand war between the Master Chief and Cortana, which actually could have been very interesting. That's a different discussion for a different time on how I feel about Halo Infinite. And give you a hint, I'm not exactly thrilled about Infinite. But they were doing a show. I was like, ooh, I'm kind of might be interested in watching this. Heard things here and there about it. Kind of not killed interest, but made interest even lower than I had hoped. Then I said, screw it, I'm going to watch it. I actually even signed up for the Paramount Plus, I think, couple weeks before it was to debut. Then I heard a bombshell of news that the writers, showrunners, producers, I forget which, very high level of production it was, said they had never even played any of the Halo games. I think they only read the wiki pages. Now, normally I would say, okay, cool, you don't know what you're talking about, but I'll give you a chance. But I think something like with Halo and Star Wars, if you don't know anything about it, that's something you don't touch, because Halo is very, I'm not going to say sacred, but it is something like you don't get it right, you don't have a lot of support from old school fans, and I'm an old school fan. So that pretty much nailed the coffin in for me. The final nail in the coffin for me. I couldn't do it. Like, had I known, well, let's say J.J. Abrams had never seen a Star Wars movie before, which I actually would not be surprised, and he admitted before Force Awakens came out, I would have said, no, I'm not watching this now. Um, I mean, for Halo, there's been 20 plus, or about 20 years of lore to go by. Not just the games, you have comics, you got books, got a couple of movies. But everything I've seen, so I'm going to say this now. I'm not going to I'm not going to discuss the story, like the main story of the Halo show, simply because I haven't seen it. I'll be discussing clips I've seen all and pictures, but as for the overarching story of this season, I don't know. I'm not going to discuss it. Just because, again, I haven't seen it, so I won't be able to give my full input. I'm just going to discuss clips on YouTube and Facebook that I've seen, and boy, am I glad I didn't watch it. So, straight off the bat, in the books, The Fall of Reach, the children are kidnapped from their homes by the UNC, the UNSC, and replaced with Flash clones. Basically, clones that are done extremely quickly, not perfect, and they can actually die the next day. They can live on to have merry old plain lives, develop cancer, develop diseases, and all these nasty side effects. And they're trained and cybernetically augmented to become soldiers to fight, at the time, human resistance. Now, I think, if I remember correctly, one of the clips from Facebook I saw, they kind of explained that. The biggest difference that I know of in the books, the children are pretty much told right away, you've been taken by the UNSC to serve as soldiers. We're going to train you to do something you probably never would have done. You're going to kill people, and we don't give a damn. From the clip, from what I understood, they never told them as children. They planted a chip or some sort of memory suppressant in them, which is just weird. Yeah, so that's just weird. That was one of the bigger things that annoyed the shit out of me, was why not just do what they did in the book? Just say, hey, don't go back to your families, it will kill you and we'll kill your families, which I'm pretty sure they did in the book. Said, hey, you can't go back. You can't ever go back, otherwise you're going to be destroying not only your life, but everyone else's lives. So, also another really big difference is in the show, the Master Chief is constantly removing his helmet. Now, I can kind of forgive it because people want to have the actors' faces showing all the times, but the problem is, you do that, you kind of destroy the significance of having a helmet remaining anonymous, or having this factor of mystery behind it. Like Darth Vader, you only see his face throughout the entire original trilogy once, and that's when he became the good guy again. Kylo Ren, very intimidating, and, well, intimidating in quotes, up until the point in The Force Awakens when he takes off his helmet. And then you have The Last Jedi, where he destroys his helmet. Then you have the Rise of Skywalker, where he rebuilds it, but he's constantly taking it on and off, and yeah. So we'll go with something like Dredd with Karl Urban. Granted, he has his mouth showing all the time, but the character still doesn't remove his helmet. We see his trainee with her helmet on once. but she removes it for the rest of the movie. So it's not like she's has it on her hip and then she puts it back on whenever she wants to, or she's in the middle of a fight. Now, I remember some comments saying that the producers wanted the actor playing the chief. The chief in the show wanted to have him emote more so we know what he was feeling. Because in the games, you only play as a robot who never shows any emotions or expresses his feelings through his voice or tilts to the head, his arm movements, and such. And whoever came up with that excuse obviously doesn't know the science of acting with a helmet on, or not being able to see facial emotions, but you can still tell how they're feeling through the voice, through body language. Again, go with like Darth Vader. You can tell when he was pissed. You can tell when he was upset. You can tell when he was being insightful and thinking and just deciding on what to do next. You didn't have to see his face always going, oh, gasp, or, oh, I'm upset. Look how narrow or pointy my eyebrows are now. No, you knew. I mean, granted, usually he was choking someone who was pissed, but I don't know. That was a very poor decision to constantly do that on and off. It took away the value of who the chief was. In the games, you don't ever see his face because it's kind of the stand-in for the player, obviously. But again, that doesn't always work, and you can usually tell when the chief was feeling, like if he was annoyed or upset. Even in the first Halo, when he's talking to the monitor after Cortana says, "Don't believe me? Ask him about what Halo really was," and he turns around and says, "Is that true?" And you could just tell he was pissed that he was being lied to. When Cortana in Halo 4 sacrificed herself and he said, "I don't want you to go," you can tell he was heartbroken. I mean, Cortana was his only quote-unquote love, the only thing he felt attached to, and she was going away. So no, you don't need to constantly have the actor removing a helmet or seeing someone's face to know how they're feeling. Subtle movements, nods, and tilts of the head, zooming on someone's hand. I mean, there's just tons of ways you can emote. Another thing that annoyed me was the fact that people kept saying, well, the Master Chief isn't always in his armor, yada yada. Read the books, and it's like, well, if you read the books, you know that the Chief and all the Spartan 2s usually are in their armor at this point, at the point of wherever the show takes place. I'm assuming it's supposed to be like a prequel to the game, or at least the game starting roundabout-ish. But when they're adults, they get their armor on, they usually leave it on, even when they're sleeping. The only time that they really take them off is during maintenance, and even then they hate it. Master Chief takes off, if I remember correctly, it's been years since I read the books, but he usually only takes it off, again, during maintenance, or when he's meeting with the Admiral General Board, like the higher ups, and he has to be in dress. And even then, he's described as being clean shaven, very military. He's very built, and his body is covered in the scars with the cybernetic surgeries. Whereas the show Master Chief, he's just another actor. Tanned, the beard that's very, very Hollywood trimmed, short stubble formed, and that annoys the shit out of me that they really wanted to make this guy look like the Master Chief, but they had to make him look like just another generic guy you fight out on the streets. Same thing with, I think it was Kat, the only female, no, well, No, I think there was two male, two female. Yeah, whatever. The short Spartan. They made her have non-regulated regulation hair. Even had a strip of it being red, if I remember correctly. And I remember seeing, I was like, this. None of this is military regulation. I understand it's a fantasy, but or sci-fi. Sorry, sci-fi. But still, it was just like, oh, this bothers me. One clip I saw show Master Chief getting upset at Dr. Halsey, who's the one who helped kidnap the children by picking them out at birth. Show Master Chief got upset at her and literally did like the 10-foot jump where he had the strength and could fly through the air because he's so emotional and angry. And Cortana, instead of being implanted in his suit like she's supposed to, she's actually implanted in his brain. And if you don't play the games, Cortana is an artificial intelligence program who is created from Dr. Halsey's brain patterns. Like basically they took a portion of her brain and created an AI from that. I believe that's how the smart AIs in the Halo universe are made. But Cortana is actually in Master Chief's show Master Chief's brain, which that bothers me too, because again, there's no indication that she was surgically implanted in his head, and there's no like chip slot, if you want, on any of the parts of the body that I've seen. It's weird. But Dr. Halsey says Cortana shut him down, and I guess Cortana literally shuts him down because they do the trope of when he's flying midway through air, he just stops and flops on the ground, all unconscious and can't do anything. Physics is still a thing. You go flying, momentum's going to keep you going unless something is enacted, and just because someone's knocked out doesn't mean they can't stop flying. But that raises another issue with the Chief attacking Dr. Halsey. Dr. Halsey is basically a mother figure to all the Spartan 2s. They wouldn't attack her, no matter how angry they were. They might say they're upset at her, they might say they hate her, but they would not attack her unless she was a threat to them. And even then, I think it would be very difficult for them to have that urge to do any harm to her. And yes, I know in Halo 4 she turned traitor because there was a misunderstanding, because she was wanting to find out if Game and Master Chief was alive. But that wasn't a Spartan 2 that shot her, that was Palmer. I think she's a Spartan 4, and she's a dick anyway. But even when in Halo 5 at the beginning where you rescue her and she knows Cortana has gone evil, she immediately drops everything. It's like, hey, I'm going to help you. Where's John? I need John. Yeah. If you can't tell by now, I don't like what I've seen from the show. Like the bits and pieces I've seen from the show. Everything looks cheap. The suits look cheap. I mean, they literally look like the pieces of plastic. It looks like they use the same 3 sets. Desert area with some buildings in it. Hallway B and fake command center. But anyway, besides the cheapness of the set for a $90 million show, apparently each episode was $10 million. And you get shit writing. Like, apparently at the final episode, second to final episode, the 4 Spartan 2s, or at least the 4 Spartans that I've seen, are going somewhere, sorry, 3 of the Spartans, because Master Chief show Master Chief has been put on leave because something is wrong with him. Oh no. The three remaining Spartans are going somewhere, and Kat says, "We can't do this without John. We need John. We absolutely can't do anything without John." And it's just like, yes, you can. You could do two. You could do a mission with 2 Spartans. You don't need the Master Chief, because apparently in the show, the Master Chief is like the best of the best of the best. It's tired of trope. And in the books, the Spartans could work alone, but they prefer to have at least one other person to watch the backs, because in the book version of the Halo game, Halo The Flood, which I do recommend to read, even the Master Chief in there says, or had the feeling that is pretty much said that he got shot several times because he didn't have his teammates covering his back, and he wished he had someone survive from Reach, and at that point he didn't know other Spartans had survived. He assumed he was the last one. But also in the books, the Master Chief wasn't the best. He wasn't the greatest. He wasn't the strongest, the fastest, the smartest, or anything. Halo pretty much just said he was the luckiest. Even in the Halo 3, Cortana said, "You know why I picked you, right? It's because you had something else that no one else had. Luck." The book said he had luck. His first interaction with Captain Keyes and Dr. Halsey as a child was Halsey flipped a coin, he caught it mid-air and called the right side. Now, you can say that was a 50-50 chance, but it was an indicator that he was lucky at things, that he wasn't going to be the best or he wasn't going to be the greatest. He just happened to be lucky. But also, the show has some of the dumbest lines I can think of. It's all very stereotypical sci-fi stuff. You have evil military officer dude looking down at aliens, looking down at other people. You have the evil doctor who did things to protect people, deceiving her own creations, and her creations wanting to know who they are because suddenly they're not emotionally stunted anymore because chips are fried or retainer, whatever, however they said they repress people's emotions in the show. Like, you literally could take away the Halo title and rename the Master Chief to Second Lieutenant. You just have a generic sci-fi show with generic tropes and all that. And again, I don't know the overall arcing story of the season, but it looks just like another sci-fi show you could find on the Sci-Fi Channel, because those sets are cheap as well. I've actually seen better sets and better acting on Sci-Fi Channel shows than I have in this clip and all the clips I've seen, and they've only post the good clips on Facebook to make you want to watch the show. And I know there's people out there who's like, oh, well, it's a different timeline. This is a different timeline. It's the silver timeline. It's just like, the excuse only goes so far. I mean, you can say the director and writer wanted to have the Chief showing more emotion. Sure. It works if it was a regular sci-fi show. It didn't even have to be the Master Chief. It could have been another damn Spartan. But because you had it as a Halo show, the writer said, oh, we have to have the Master Chief as the main character. But we're going to change everything about the lore, the way things used to work. People will say, oh, well, you're holding on to old ideals and you're just looking back at everything rose-tinted glasses. Like, maybe, but at least back then they had set rules for shit. Like, the Covenant never liked humanity. They still really don't like humanity. Even the elites, they don't really like humanity. They see humanity as a threat or an annoyance. The Covenant wants to kill humanity because we're in the way of the Great Journey. And we're messing with the sacred artifacts from the Forerunners. So the prophet said, kill them, don't show them any mercy. Whereas in the show, apparently there's a Covenant human now who can control shit. Yeah. Oh, and they give her the most fashionable clothing that they can get their claws on, apparently. It's very fashionable. Yep. So they destroyed that. Humans can be friends with the Covenant if they're apparently useful. Whereas the only time the Covenant took prisoners was on the original Halo game, because they were finding out that humans can use Forerunner artifacts. And if I remember correctly, a couple of the comments I seen said only a select few humans can use Forerunner artifacts. Like, it's some genetic coding or mutation, which is just like, oh, cool, we're going to this trope. Whereas in the books, humanity was originally chosen to take over the mantle of responsibility, I think. I forget what the technical term is, but basically, Forerunners chose humanity to take over the Forerunners' quest or mission because of some factor I completely forget. But that never really happened. And I guess in the show, there's only 2 people who can use the Forerunner stuff, and one of them is the Master Chief, the other is Human Spy Lady. Oh, and I forgot to mention, because, again, it's something that's really stupid and not part of Halo, is the Master Chief and evil human Covenant spy have sex. Yes. If you wanted to know, Master Chief has sex. Yes, he has sex in the show. Woohoo. We really needed that, didn't we? Like, this is why I enjoyed the books more. You got more humanity out of the books. Now you have this weirdly emotionally stunted person finding emotions for the first time and acting like a teenager. Oh, and big surprise, after sex, she betrays him and returns to the Covenant with whatever information she was trying to get. Woohoo! Who didn't see that shit coming? Anyway, so... Oh, and if I interpreted the titles of YouTube channels correctly, the Master Chief dies at the end of the season. Again, I don't know for sure, but if he is dead, it's just another slap in the face of Halo. And there's already theories that I've seen that Cortana is going to take over his body, which is creepy in every way. Because when the suit needs to be fixed up or have maintenance done, they're just going to discover a corpse. Yay. Even the clips of the final battle I saw looked so bad. There's 4 brutes, where in the books the Chief could hardly take down 1 brute. In the show, he takes him down like it's nothing because he has the infinite ammo cheat code activated. Yes, I've seen clips, and people have pointed out that he had 4 rounds left in his assault rifle, and yet he was able to keep shooting and shooting and shooting. I even saw a clip where he was dual wielding plasma pistols, and he flips backwards, and when he lands on doing the hero pose, he starts shooting forward, and then he starts arcing his arms back and shooting people that way, and he hits 2 grunts while doing that. Yeah. But anyway, I'm sure if any Halo show fans watch this, I'm not saying you're wrong for watching the show and enjoying the show. You're more than welcome to enjoy whatever you want to enjoy. You can look at it however you want. You can say it's different timelines or different theories or it's a different Halo. It's not my Halo. I don't have Halo. I don't own Halo. Just saying the reasons why I have no interest in it is that it looks bad. It looks horrible. It looks like another generic sci-fi. If you enjoyed it, good for you. I just can't get into the show. The amount of stupidity in it's bad for my taste. I mean, I've seen it bad stuff, and there's stuff I enjoy, like the Expendables 2. That is so cheesy. That's like pure 80s, early 90s nostalgia, over the top dumbness. But that actually is a lot better in almost every way than the Halo show for a TV show production of $90 million. I understand the actors also went through a lot of military training to get it right. Again, that doesn't really fix things for me. That just says, okay, they spent X amount of money to get training, but whenever they went on camera, they looked very awkward in the suits. The suits looked like they were about to fall off. It looks cheap. The dialogue that I've heard was very generic and bad. The overarching stories bits that I've seen looks bad. It looks like 15 different plot lines going on. Some human rebellion, some human named Kiwi. I don't know. The Master Chief discovering he has emotions for the first time, and how Dr. Halsey ruined his entire life. He's got to have a cry about it. The Dr. Halsey has alternative plans for the Spartans. She's betraying the military. The Human Covenant War, which doesn't seem to be as bad as it usually is. Trying to get to Halo, trying to explain what the Great Journey is. It's just too many plot lines. Keep it simple. Kind of like Star Wars. They should have kept that simple too. But yeah, so I'm going to end this here. Little ranty mismatch all over the place, not focused as per usual from me. But again, thank you guys for listening, and I'll talk to you later. See ya. Oh, also check out my new Locals channel. It's a new site I'm trying out. A lot of other communities are on there. So yeah, give that a look, see how well you like it, and let me know.